Hello, my name is Andrew Collins and I'm a Telly addict. I've never jumped off a diving board, I've never stepped foot on the continent of Asia, and I've never been inside a betting shop. And until Friday, I'd never seen a single episode of Jonathan Creek. This last seemed the least arduous to rectify. It's not like I've been consciously avoiding it for the last 18 years while millions have clasped its arch mix of magic and murder to their bosom. I've just never got round to it. And the wind will be my hand. So I tuned into the first of a new run of 3 Howdunits on BBC One with great interest. I like a mystery, I like David Renwick's previous hit, One Foot in the Grave, and I like Alan Davies.
Well, perhaps the best we can say is bless him, he did try. -11, Alan Davies.
Who doesn't? But I have to say, watching his former magician's consultant reluctantly frown away an impossible crime based in the world of West End theatre, I was left puzzled.
There's no trick to the art of simple observation. The abrasions around the side of your neck are quite recent, quite deep and quite nasty. Something feral at work. If not feral, then certainly not happy. A pet perhaps, provoked or antagonised or traumatised. In your bag, a diary entry largely obscured for yesterday. A visit somewhere, to a cemetery, a monastery.
I quickly gathered that Sarah Alexander is Jonathan's wife and a replacement for Caroline Quentin, who wasn't. And she seems a bit corporate and her dad has died. But who was this budding junior Sherlock character? And was this sequence supposed to be a dig at the actual and brilliant Sherlock?
And that faint reddening of the left eyelid. What else but a biting Arctic wind? So you see, it's really very simple.
10 minutes in and Jonathan Creek himself seemed to have contributed nothing. Is this what he's always like? Does he just stay silent and then spring into deductive action later? I really like this early gag about a woman whose children were called Ripley and Ridley.
No prizes for guessing what her favourite film is.
I liked it because it wasn't signposted. You either knew Ripley and Ridley and Nostromo referred to Alien, or you didn't, which jarred somewhat with a signposted gag like this one.
Why is everything so hard?
Rigor mortis, I think you'll find.
And a signposted clue like this one.
That was it. Sawjoy on the picture.
Or Holmes upside down.
Sawjoy on the picture.
Maybe I've been spoiled by all those top-end Agatha Christies, which for decades have blended enjoyably theatrical acting and moments of humour into serious detective stories. Here the cocktail was less evenly shaken, although the biggest mystery of all remained. Why did Alan Davies have a non-speaking part for the first half hour?
How can a house die?
The other characters couldn't shut up.
Yes, I know. Oh, Jonathan. This is Hazel, Auntie Hazel. Hello. My mum's closest friend, and just always been around, haven't you? My dad, especially these last few weeks.
Okay. Early intimations only, but a crime of passion, we can fairly assume. A lover very much her senior, age 50, 51, possibly 52.
Looks like a note from my mum just before she died. Virtually unreadable. I remember she could barely hold a pen by that time.
In excess of 6 foot, disproportionately long arms and big hands. And dare I venture, no mean athlete in the bedroom department.
He just looks a bit sad, I suppose.
No wonder. I never actually made it to the end, so I don't know if Ridley Scott's Alien was important. It's quite clear I'm missing something, as Creek is so popular. Maybe I'm just too late to the party. I should have perhaps jumped off a diving board.
What are you thinking?
I'm in.
Now that was how the current season of Legal Potboiler The Good Wife started, and if you saw episode 5 last week on More 4, you'll know that it was one of the show's finest hours. You needed oxygen at the end of it, and that's all I'm going to say. At any rate, a tough week for this legal drama to return. That said, Silk, based on Peter Moffat's own experiences as a barrister, has plenty of reasons to raise a glass. A strong contender for TV's best current British legal drama, it has a guaranteed audience of 6 million, and the strident Maxine Peake as the QC who wigs out to the clash. Series 3 seemed to begin at its own launch party, and Peake's angry Martha Costello wasn't finished with the Clash's Police on My Back. that's what you do when routine bites hard. A terrific opener that makes plain that Moffat isn't competing with The Good Wife. They're taking different roads. Meanwhile, for Neil Stuke's bulldog-like senior clerk, desperation takes hold.
6 months, 3 years. Every case is different.
How much less of a man will I be?
Up a couple of bra sizes. Throw away the electric razor.
Typically astute writing from Moffat there, and we haven't even got to the case of the week yet. While we're in the general vicinity of the law and BBC dramas you'd be a fool to miss, another one of my favourite actors popped up in episode 3 of Line of Duty. Mr. Craig Parkinson, who must play Bradley Wiggins if they ever do a biopic. I cheered his reappearance, his colleagues did not.
It's not my fault you were kept out of the loop. But really, around the office, you ought to be calling me Sir.
Sir?
Sir.
Everyone's a critic.
Wanker.
Over on Sky One, a little gem has returned. Moone Boy sprang from Sky One's Little Crackers series. Rooted in the Irish childhood of Chris O'Dowd and co-written with Nick Vincent Murphy, this second series was commissioned before the first one had even aired. Set at the cusp of the 90s and starring the young from the shoulders down David Rawle as an early teen surrogate of O'Dowd himself, it is proudly shot in Boyle in County Roscommon, where O'Dowd was raised.
How could you get lost in Boyle? There's really just 2 streets. That ridiculous one-way system always throws me, ma'am.
I visited Boyle. It's an accurate and affectionate depiction. Moone Boy, which won an international Emmy last year, is shot through with affection and warmth. It's a silly family comedy that really ought to be shown at tea time.
Dad says women are like men who've been hit in the head. Look at them all, talking about periods and scrunchies and Patrick Swayze. That's not all they talk about, Martin.
I was watching Patrick Swayze last night in Dirty Dancing, and I got my period. And it hurt like an over-tightened scrunchie.
O'Dowd is in it as Martin's imaginary friend Sean, which leads to the more surreal scenes.
Hey, you look like an idiot. Let's look like an idiot together.
What I especially like about Moone Boy is the way that Martin's relationship with Sean doesn't solve all his problems, as it would in one of those Hollywood movies. In fact, it makes him look even more of a fool, and life can be like that. No spoilers. Now, while we're on our feet, let's annoy the late Frank Zappa and make a song and dance about architecture.
In the 1930s, 5 children were born who grew up with dreams of building a better world. And that's exactly what they did.
The Brits who built the modern world did not come from Channel 4's random title generator. This was a terrific 3-part BBC 4 documentary which was actually about 5 Brits who built the modern world. And I don't want to worry you, but you only have until March the 6th to iPlayer the first 2 episodes.
The architecture of Norman Foster, Richard Rogers, Michael Hopkins, Nicholas Grimshaw and Terry Farrell can be found across Britain and the globe. In their youth, they collaborated, and their work was hailed as a radical new style of architecture, high-tech.
Narrated by the approachably authoritative Rebecca Front and produced and directed with wit, drama and great pop tunes by Peter Sweezy, it built its case against the classical tradition on pretty solid foundations.
In this series, for the first time, all 5 of them tell their story.
Even if, like me, you know very little about infrastructure and just have buildings you like and buildings you hate, you'll emerge at the other end of these 3 informative, entertaining hours with the confidence to explain how Portcullis House found architectural expression in structural truth.
I suppose we wanted to be sort of interesting and famous and do something weird, you know?
The most important thing I learned is that if you want to change the world through architecture, you have to wear these little round specs.
It was all sight welded. It's very difficult to define in the end.
Nicholas Grimshaw.
Unlike any of the other practices, we stayed on for a few days after.
Was the appointment of Hopkins Architects to build a new office block for MPs.
I don't know how this bloke expected to get on.
what was that all about?
Animated about new concepts like UV transparent cladding and energy dissipating fluid viscous dampers, I tuned into another BBC4 architecture documentary. But Bunker's Brutalism Bloody Mindedness, a personal journey through concrete poetry with Jonathan Meades, was way too severe and unwelcoming, so I left the building. Although not before discovering this about Swiss architectural guru Le Corbusier.
He had all the usual qualities of a big-time architect.
Yes, the round specs. Your moment of zen this week comes from Stuart Lee's comedy Vehicle, which swept away all before it on BBC Two with this metatextual attack on himself.
It's a good joke, that, but it's not like something I would do, really. It's like a cheeky boy... It's like a Lee Mack joke, isn't it? Sort of. I like the cheeky boy next door. So I like Lee Mack, but I can't do those kind of cheeky boy next door things. I'm not the cheeky boy next door, am I? I'm a cultural bully from the Oxbridge Mafia who wants to appear morally superior but couldn't cut the mustard on a panel game. Or so I infer from Lee Mack's autobiography.